Hey everyone, the name is Eric, and in this video I'm going to teach you how you can increase your verbal linguistic intelligence and why you might want to. Okay, so first and foremost, verbal linguistic intelligence is best correlated with two personality traits: high levels of extroversion and high levels of intuition. Specifically, here you can talk about four subtraits of verbal linguistic intelligence. First, you have to have a dynamic temperament, which means that you have to be willing to go out and talk to people and engage in conversation, right? So that's the best way to develop linguistic ability: talk, write, express yourself, use words, use it. If you're too afraid to use language, it's going to take a lot longer for you to develop this kind of skill. Secondly, you might need to have some general flexibility, right? So if you have a static or organized or controlled temperament, what's more likely to happen is you're going to find it harder to learn new languages and new words when other people use new words. And if they use words in unusual ways, well, it might be more difficult for you to interpret what they said or to consider that, hey, actually maybe they meant this, maybe they meant that, right? So if you're attached to a meaning or an idea or what some things should be like, well, that's going to limit your ability to learn language too. The third subtrait of this trait is high levels of openness, right? So you should have a natural curiosity, you should be interested in new languages, you should be interested in travel, in meeting new people, in going to new events, and reading books and engaging in culture, because that's one way to learn language. It's through exposure to culture, which helps you see how words and language is used in practice, because what is movies and stories and books, but not ways to learn language and ways to increase and improve your language and capacity. The fourth trait of verbal linguistic intelligence, I would say, is a high level of rationality. And here what I mean is this ability to rationalize and explain what you think and to verbalize your thought process and to explain why you think the way that you do and so on, right? So a person that finds it hard to rationalize their experiences and what they feel inside might find it harder to develop verbal linguistic intelligence, simply because, you feel something, but you can't explain what it is that you feel or why you feel that way, right? So this trait can be described as a form of logic, right? So not necessarily being scientific or mathematical and that harder empirical form of logic. It's more the form of logic which allows you to, define statements and to organize your thoughts and to use language operationally to solve problems and to explain what you are experiencing in a detached way that other people can understand, right? So when we use language, what happens is we come up with words, and these words are carriers of meaning, right? And they don't convey exactly what it is that you feel. They are abstract manifestations of what it is that you feel. And when you use the word, it's hopefully the other person will be able to see, oh yeah, he must have felt something like this. But you can never know for sure what it is that the other person felt or how they experienced something. And that's the problem with language. Language is a misdirection from the real truth, right? So when we use language, we are abstracting away from truth. And that's why I say extroversion and intuition is the key to mastering language and improving linguistic ability. And so mastering language and getting better at using language will also help you become more extroverted, and it will help you improve your intuition. The better your capacity for language, the more richly you can express ideas and explain patterns and ideas and thoughts. And by being able to verbalize ideas and use language extensively, to have a rich vocabulary in a language, to know how to explain complex thoughts and processes, all those things can aid you in higher rates of learning, because, for example, if a teacher is trying to explain something to you and you understand the language well and you know what words mean, you'll be quicker at decoding what it is that they say and what it meant and what they were trying to say with that word, right? So having a higher level of linguistic intelligence helps you learn faster. It helps you read books quicker. It helps you get through, audiobooks quicker, to listen to and understand podcasts better. And if somebody tells something to you and you get quizzed on it later, it's going to be easier for you to understand what was it that they were trying to say and what was the gist of their message, and it will help you understand those things accurately, right? So it's something that can boost and aid you in academic fields. It can help you in research and in learning. It can help you in traveling to new cultures and countries, understanding new places. It can help you decode fiction and understand art and stories and things like that, right? So in general, it's a superpower. It's a genuine superpower, and it's the superpower we see the most in people that are ENFPs, ENTPs, ENFJs, and also ENTJs, right? So if you're one of these 4 types, you're most likely going to demonstrate a higher capacity for extroversion and intuition. You don't always have to be the best, but you're at least going to be average or a little slightly above average in these skills, right? So here also it's important to recognize that there is a range, right? So there's going to be super linguists and polyglots in this range, right? You're going to have extroverted intuitives that know multiple languages and know these languages well. And you're going to have, the semi-polyglots and, the base extroverted intuitives, the people that have, maybe they only know one language, but they know it really well, and it's very easy for them to use it. What you'll notice is all these 4 types tend to be excellent, or at least above average, conversationalists, which means that when you talk to an extroverted intuitive, they are much better at carrying conversation. They are better at thinking rapidly of new things to say, and when you talk to them and tell them something, they will decode and understand and translate it faster, and so they'll be better at that kind of back and forth of a normal conversation. This will also suggest one thing, and that is that typically when you're dealing with an introverted and sensory type, typically what you'll see is language is going to be their biggest struggle, and there are several reasons for this. First, they are a bit too cautious. They're too afraid of saying the wrong thing or of being misunderstood, right? So they want to say it right. They want to use the exact right phrase, and they want to make sure that they say it the right way, that they don't mispronounce it or spell it wrong or do any mistakes with it, right? So this overall leads to them thinking longer and taking longer to express what it is that they are thinking about, and it's something that can limit their ability to use language specifically. On the plus side, introverted sensing types tend to demonstrate a higher level of visual spatial ability. So because they have this struggle with language, typically the introverted sensory types tend to be better at images. And that's what you're going to see with extroverted intuitives, is that they are better, much better at this of using language, and much less skilled when it comes to correctly recalling and memorizing images and symbols and gestures and things like that, right? So there is a downside, a trade down here that you can see in extroverted intuition, and it's that more often than not, extroverted intuitives are going to remember images incorrectly, and they're not even going to know that they do it, right? Like they're gonna when you ask them about the color of a chair in a room, or like how many people were there, or what hair color somebody had, or things like that, extroverted intuitives tend to be a little bit worse in these areas. And because of this, many extroverted intuitives say they have memory issues or that they're bad at memorizing. It's not true. You have specifically bad recall and retention and poor accuracy in retention of these things. But what you do have on the top of it is you can learn languages quickly, you can memorize language quickly. So you do have a good memory. It's just specialized for a different area here, right? So that's important to remember. As a person that wants to develop this ability, what you're going to have to learn is, as an extroverted and intuitive type, if you want to be successful, if you want to live a happy and fulfilling life as an ENFP, ENFJ, or ENTJ, or ENTP, what you might want to do is you might want to invest some time and energy into learning your own language better or learning other languages to complement your first or primary language, right? So here it can be, taking like reading advanced literature at a higher level, of a higher, Nobel Prize level of fiction, right? Like, or you might want to read things that are very creative. You might want to think about reading poetry and analyzing these kinds of things. You might want to take tests and study your own main language at university at a higher level and so on, right? And you might think, what's the point? Why is language important? Why do I need it? What's the purpose of it? Well, of course, being able to have better conversations, being able to make yourself understood with other people, being able to connect more with others, being able to travel around the world more effortlessly, being able to express your thoughts, be more creative, to learn faster. These are all skills of extrovert intuition. So, yeah, if you have an aptitude for this, and if you find you're already above average in this, you can easily, through time and effort, go pro in language, and you can use that to write amazing works of fiction, or to master journalism, or to become an expert in an academic field, or for many other purposes, right? So also personal and private purposes. So I definitely recommend it, and yeah, that's extroverted intuition.